So the whole horseboy method thing, the reason why Max was calming down so much and tapping into that blissful state is really to do with the production of oxytocin and serotonin in the body. What happens is the way we train the horses here at Horseboy is in dressage, and dressage is how you train a horse for war, you get the horse to bring the center of gravity back and sit supporting his weight on his haunches, which is what horses automatically do in nature when they fight, flirt or play. So it's quite euphoric for the horse, but for the rider it causes the hips to rock in a way that produces enormous amounts of euphoria, oxytocin. If you ride a horse badly, it's very arrhythmic and actually it has a counterproductive effect. So a lot of training goes into this. I stumbled into this by chance because when I first started riding with Rowan, I was riding on a horse that wasn't mine, Betsy. She had no training like this, so she wasn't a terribly rhythmic or safe horse to be riding on. So I started putting the training into her, and I noticed that the more of it I trained into her, the more euphoria and communication I got from Rowan. I got curious, was this just him or was it other kids? So I started testing it out with lots of other kids in the neighborhood, and it was a universal effect. So then I got more curious and I started talking to neurologists and brain people about what was going on, and they all said, oh, well, the rocking of the hips in rhythm like that causes the body to produce large amounts of oxytocin, the bliss hormone, and a lot of people on the spectrum have overdeveloped amygdalas, which is the part of the brain that governs fight, flight and freeze response, hence the difficulty dealing with frustration or transitions or just sensory stuff or whatever. And so when this happens, all of that cortisol, all of that stress hormone is taken out of the picture suddenly, and an industrial-sized shot of oxytocin is given to the base of the spine. The irony of this is that we're tapping into a form of training where you actually train the horse for war. That training trains the horse to have his center of gravity on his haunches, like in martial arts when you do this. It's exactly the same. The horse is bouncing on the spot, able to use his energy in any given direction in battle. But now we're using it to heal, not to harm, because the horse will lend you his power either way. The horse is neutral. The horse will, they're very generous creatures. They will give it up to you, no matter what you're using it for. It's up to you as the human being to decide. And now that we move into Horseboy learning, which is our methodology for homeschooling and kinetic learning, we've taken these ways of producing oxytocin in the children's bodies that we've learned with the horses, and now we learned how to use it, do it with play equipment or household furniture or just general nature out in the park, and other use of other animals, small animals and water and swings and things like this, to reproduce these of good effects that the horses can give. The trick is the rhythm. You must get the rhythm consistent in such a way that it swings, it rocks the hips in that way that will produce oxytocin. And the other trick is you're the voice in the child's ear. When Ileana was sitting behind him like that, she was speaking in his ear. She wasn't a challenging frontal gaze that Max had to defend himself from. So you can insinuate yourself into the child's thought processes. If you think about what the word autism means, it comes from the Greek word auto.
Self.
It's the self. So an automobile is a self-propelled machine, for example. So autism, selfism, locked within the self. The difficulty is the relationship with the exterior world. The horse carries us into the exterior world effortlessly, delightfully, and if it's done well, filling us with oxytocin, with a voice in the ear, tailoring the conversation to the child's interests, hand over hand pointing and identifying. Out we go into the forest, looking at the sky. There's the sky, it's blue. What is blue? What are the colours of the spectrum? What is the sky? What is the atmosphere? What is oxygen? What is the pulmonary system? And you start to build the child's brain like this, but it all rests on these rhythms that the horses can give if they're trained correctly. And that's the basis of our method and what we do. That and the environment, setting up the correct environment for a child. And but you don't need a horse to do it. Once you know how to produce those rhythms, I still think the horse gives you the best result because it's so powerful. It gives you this industrial-sized shot of oxytocin to the spine, and also it's the living animal. You have the relationship with the living animal, and also it's just so cool to be up there doing it. But you don't need a horse. Once you know how to reproduce those rhythms, and you understand the deep pressure, the voice in the ear, the hand over hand pointing, and the power of suggestion and the constant monologue of intelligent conversation, catered to the child's interests, it all follows from that. And any parent can do that anywhere, anytime, in their living room in a park.